Hi, everyone, and welcome to ABC's of Anesthesia. And look, usually we have anesthetic related guests here, but I think this is a really just special moment where I'm up and down with Dr. Glaucomflecken.
I've worked with some anesthetists before, so
Exactly. This is totally
kind of related.
I think, as you say on your website, you are a board certified ophthalmologist. So if everyone who doesn't know, you are a specialist.
I'm a legit ophthalmologist.
In your real life and in your fake life, 37, is it? 37 board certified characters?
That's right. I think I've covered almost all the specialties in medicine so far. So yeah.
And they're based on real characters.
Well, some of them are more based on actual people I know. Some of them are just just my own imagination running wild.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Now, because we've got a young audience who, trying to get onto anesthetic training, critical care, nurses, paramedics, and anesthetic registrars. Being on that side, do you work with quite a few anesthetists?
Yeah, I do a lot of cataract surgery, and so it's mostly in the U.S. Nurse anesthetists that we work with. Because honestly, there are even a lot of ophthalmologists that just manage their own very mild sedation for cataract, because our cataract surgeries take about 7 or 8 minutes to do.
Yeah, right.
And so there's not a lot that is required of an anesthetist.
I'm not sure we should publish this audio now because it's a pretty good list if anyone wants to. So literally for your cases, we're just doing topical drops.
Yeah, it's topical eye drops. But I'll do 10 to 12, sometimes 15 cases in a half day. It's kind of how our schedule works. And so it goes fast. It's fast paced. And, I will say, I say that we could manage our own sedation, and that's true for 95% of the time. But then there's that 5% of cases where I'm really glad I have someone that knows a little bit more about these medications than I do that can help.
Have you ever gone a bit overboard? It's just that was a little bit too.
Well, sometimes the patients fall asleep, but typically we try to keep them awake.
Of course, staring out.
Yeah, because then what you don't want is while you have instruments inside the eye, you don't want the patient to suddenly wake up, right, and jerk awake and move, and that's bad for eye surgery.
I've got to say, it was the only time this ever happened was in Darwin, where I had a patient actually just walked up, just decided they didn't want to have the operation anymore in mid instrument.
And just tried to get up?
Yeah, just tried to get up.
So it's for that reason why every single patient I will tape their head down.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't happen.
Oh, no, that's good, okay. These are good tips for any junior ophthalmos out there.
It's not very high tech, just silk tape, just right around the head, and it works.
Now, as you've gone into social media and you've started comedy, was there something in your childhood or something you grew up with that made this all happen? Is it a surprise that this is happening?
Not really. I've always been a class clown. I definitely got myself into a lot of trouble just trying to make people laugh in school. It's just kind of my personality. It's probably not a surprise to anybody listening, but I have some influences. I grew up watching SNL, so Saturday Night Live. I love skits. I love the storytelling and the comedy, and I never myself got into improv. I've always, at least as far as performing, I come from more of a stand-up comedy background, but I grew up watching Saturday Night Live and David Letterman. He was him and Conan were probably the two that I watched the most growing up. Yeah, as far as comedians.
Okay. And so that then led to your first viral video, which is just trying to debrief, or vent the frustration with the system.
Yeah, it started, honestly, my videos, because I was on Twitter for 4 years, probably. Yeah, about 4 years before I started making video content. And that's mainly because Twitter was the closest I could get to stand-up comedy. Yeah. It's these short little tidbits. So you could tell your jokes. You could present. And I didn't have time to do stand-up comedy, on my own because of medicine. That whole other thing that my life I was doing at the time. And so the video started around the pandemic, and there were so many people on social media at that time. it was just like, it seemed like everything I was putting out there was getting millions of views.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm not the only person that felt that. It was like, that's when TikTok was like really coming into its own in the US.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people were generating these huge audiences around that time. So some of my success on social media is right place, right time, I think.
And because of that first viral video, was that the
honestly, I don't remember the first one that went like mega viral, but it was when I started doing all like the first day of rotation.
Oh yeah,
med student rotations. So I was like first day of internal medicine, first day of neurosurgery, first day of ortho. Yeah. And it's from like the med student's perspective. And then, you know, that's when I started really getting into the characters and creating the helmet with the emergency physician, you know, the costumes. So those were the videos that were taken off every time I'd make one.
Okay, and that just
that started it, and I just kept going with it. And
do you think it's a medical nursing audience that's loving this, or is it just everyone?
It's primarily, I'd say it's hard to put numbers on it, but by like 75, 80, maybe even 90% medical audiences. So, I mean, honestly, it seems like almost every physician out there has probably seen one of my videos, right? Yeah. So I'd say physicians are a big part of my audience, and that's just because of the nature of the characters that I've made, right?
Yeah.
But it has extended to probably a lot of the healthcare system. But I'm always surprised. There are people that come up to me who see me out in public and like, I love your videos. And I'm like, oh, what do you do? And they're like, I'm an engineer. I'm like why? I always want to say like, why do you, sometimes I do ask them like, why do you watch these videos? What is interesting? What I find is that the personalities are translatable to other industries.
Yes.
Like a lot of people have worked with a neurologist, maybe not an actual neurologist, but that personality of the neurologist or the surgeon or, you know, like the personality, and because I don't know the medicine to really speak a lot about. And so I really lean on the personalities in the characterization.
That's a really good principle of improv in general, is that you don't worry about what they're doing. It's about what
how they're acting, their facial expressions, the tone of their voice.
How they make you feel.
You know, and that's what translates outside. I still have primarily a medical audience because it is still pretty niche humor. Yeah. But the personalities, if you want to call it acting skills, is what's helping bring other people outside of medicine in. Yeah.
And you know how you don't see a movie or a series about engineering necessarily. You do see about law, emergency response medicine. Is it partly that people love watching kind of high stakes professions, or the interactions between the drama between?
I think they like the drama. They like the back and forth. They like the lore, like the fact that I'm creating these storylines.
Yes.
And I've created this, like I jokingly call it the Glaucomflecken cinematic universe, right? Yes. And so I think people really appreciate that. That's the part I really enjoy. I was like, oh, what would this character do in this situation? And how can I add more background to these characters to make them feel more real?
And do you see, I mean, that will then, these are kind of the building blocks of a TV series? Is that even on the cards?
Well, you know, as we're talking about maybe like an animated show. Yeah. Because these characters they're very cartoonish in a lot of ways, right? And so I really think that it would lend itself to like an animation type thing. And that's something, because obviously we have some medical comedies, you know, obviously Scrubs is like the standard.
I thought that's too real for me. I couldn't watch it.
It's very, I mean, it's the gold standard. It's no one's done it better than Scrubs. I don't think I could do it better than Scrubs, but there hasn't been anything in the animation space that's like medical based, you know,
kind of Family Guy style.
Well, you know, and maybe even not as zany and crazy as that, but just to try to explore this in an animated way, I think would be fun.
Yeah. Okay. When you talked about how you did a sketch about the mission statement of an insurance company and they're saying, it's Dr. Evil, and you're finally they're talking about you in the C-suite.
Yeah. I put out a video about, it was actually, the video was in response to Aetna, which is one of the big US health insurance companies, one of the more powerful ones. They started requiring prior authorizations for cataract surgery. In like every single cataract surgery. There's a lot of cataract surgeries that are done. We've already addressed this. I do a lot every day. Every ophthalmologist does a lot of cataract surgery. The population is exploding. That
would mean a call to every patient to ensure.
Exactly. That would be a massive administrative burden to require the practice, the physicians, the support staff to do a prior authorization, paperwork, phone calls, whatever, for everybody who's getting cataract surgery who's an Aetna patient. And so I made a video making fun of this. And in the video, I there's a part where I have a poster that says the mission statement of Aetna is be evil, period. And I used the Aetna logo. And I got a message from somebody who said that somebody in the C-suite, like the CMO or something, was very angry about the video and wanted it taken down from the internet.
I mean, that's amazing, because that means that they've cared so much about a joke that they think it's actually going to affect their share price.
Well, exactly, right? I mean, it really says something whenever you can get their attention, because they're so big. And it shows that they care about social media, because I think that's where they can be hurt. Because that's where the public is. And that's something they can't control. They can control like legislation to a certain extent, right? You can buy off politicians or whatever. But social media is the Wild West. And,
it's popular sentiment. It's the mass.
They care, and they care about it, right? And so that's why you always, when someone's complaining about their insurance bills, you get this automatic response from an insurance company like, I'm sorry to hear about your difficulties with...
You're not sorry at all.
Yeah, like, please, here's your, we'd be happy to talk about this further with you. Here's our email and whatever. So it's, that's why I think it's important for medical professionals to voice their concerns and to show examples of these predatory practices that these corporations use.
It's great that you said that they have no control over that, what you do. They have no control of mass opinion or the fact that what you're doing is entertaining. And even yesterday, how you talked about the New England Journal approaching you saying, no one's watching our stuff. Can you make a video on that? And that was their highest viewed video. It's going to sound funny, but would you see yourself as almost a weapon? Like if something that's boring needs to be heard, use comedy.
Well, it's what I'm good at, and there's a lot of important things in medicine that do happen to be quite boring to like the general public. Like, how do you make something like a pharmacy benefit manager? Which is this shadowy middleman in the U.S. healthcare system. How do you make that interesting enough for someone outside of medicine to want to hear about? And comedy is a perfect way to do it. Because the only thing that's what grabs people's attention. That's why there's so many funny things people on TikTok. A lot of viral videos they got to have some kind of sense of humor, something that holds your attention. And so it's natural for us to try to do that in medicine, because we got a lot of things that we need people to learn and know about. But how do we reach them? It's all about meeting people where they are. And right now, it's short video content. And if you can, try to make it funny. You don't have to be funny, but like engaging, I should say.
Is that the thing? So as a lesson for this ABCs of Anesthesia audience, if you want to get out on social media, just be out there, be authentic,
be yourself. You don't force yourself to be someone you're not. And not everybody has to be a comedian. I don't want people to think that. But I think one of the biggest takeaways with building an audience or trying to build up an audience is really be yourself. If you are passionate about the thing you're talking about, it doesn't matter what it is, it could be any part of medicine. It could be like you just love tables and you're going to talk about tables.
Yeah.
And you're going to show people love hearing people talk about the thing that they are obsessed with.
Yes.
And you could listen to an expert in something that you know nothing about, but because that passion comes off, you can tell when someone really loves the thing that they're talking about. Yeah. It's going to come across in your content, and you, depending on how narrow your focus is, you may not get a big audience, but the audience you get is going to be loyal. Yeah. They're going to be engaged with you. They're going to follow you, or they're going to, if you want to write a book, they're going to buy your book. They're going to be with you. Yeah. And that's really important, because you see a lot of content creators that are just kind of shotgunning things. They're just whatever. There's no,
what happens.
That's a superficial audience. Yeah. But if you get something that you know a lot about, or you're willing to learn a lot about, and you love it, that's going to come across in your content, and it's going to be extremely engaging to a certain number of people. So with your, you've obviously got this massive following, and you bring joy to all these people's lives, because, when we're doom scrolling, we say, yep, that's going to make me laugh, and I'll be able to just veg out on that for a bit. Is there a bigger theme than that? I mean, that's enough in itself. Making people laugh is great, and it makes you feel good. Do you have this vision that actually, do you actually want to, strike up to power and actually go, hey, you know what? I will keep making fun of you until you change. Yeah, I mean, that's probably another battle the comedy is, it gets people's attention, and it can handle like the education aspect of advocacy, helping people understand problems and where the pain points in healthcare are. But the hard work of making change in healthcare, there's much more to it, and so it's a comedy video alone is not going to make things better in medicine. But it's going to be a lot of people doing a lot of different types of things. That's going to help. Yeah.
The role of humor, obviously not everyone's natural at this, but the role of humor in your patient interactions or just education, is that something, do you have many students that you teach?
I don't do a lot of teaching. I honestly, I don't have time.
No, that'd be the thing.
It's it's humor, and it's more just something that we need to recognize as acceptable. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, I don't think we need to try to teach people how to be funny. Although I think I could probably run a very successful, like, how to be funny during a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. But I don't think the focus shouldn't be on like trying to make people funny in healthcare, but we do need to all be more accepting of people expressing that side of themselves. Yeah. Because that's where we've struggled historically as a field of medicine.
So do you see that where I'm kind of subduing people's natural?
Well, yeah, it's like this whole like, oh, that's not professional. Weaponizing the term professionalism.
Yes.
To the point where people can't express themselves or don't feel safe expressing themselves. Yeah. And we need to allow that to happen. And social media is kind of forcing that issue. Yeah.
It really is.
That's the way that's where the people are. That's where we're there's more quote unquote influencers than ever before. And there's only going to be more and more people developing a following. And so I think it's on us the education should be, how do you do it safely? How do you maintain, a certain level of professionalism that you have to as a physician, as a doctor, but while still allowing that self-expression piece.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I think that's that's really interesting kind of points to take home. And I think I'm going to take up your offer and doing a Anaesthetics reacts to Glaucomflecken video.
Do it. There's a lot of, I've seen a lot of of reaction videos. I don't think I've seen one on the anesthesiologist side of things, though.
I wouldn't have to react to it. Yep, that's true. We've got this one thing where I'd love you to do one of these where, the transducer, the arterial pressure transducer's there, and the surgeon says, why is the pressure so high or low? And then you just go, move it down or up it, and that changes the pressure.
Yeah.
I think you do a bed one.
I did one in the bed. It was like the surgeon is like, bed up, please. And then the anesthesiologist just makes the sound with their mouth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the surgeon's like, thank you. That's much better.
That's
a little placebo effect.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm just going to text you content and just.
There you go.
Please.
Yeah, I'm always open to ideas. Yeah, you or any of your listeners or followers.
Oh, good.
If you have some, because believe it or not, as an ophthalmologist, I don't get outside of my field very often, so I could always use some good ideas for content.
Oh, I love that. Hey, well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
That's been a real pleasure to see one of my favorite comedians out there. So
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. We'll end it there. This was just a real privilege, and share this with anyone who might be interested. And as usual, we'll go back to our usual esoteric anesthetic content for the next episode. Thanks, Will. Cheers. Now, what's new with ABCs of Anesthesia is that we're forming a whole bunch of very comprehensive courses for every stage of your anesthetic journey, from medical student to procedural skills, from foundations in anesthesia, as well as really important exam lectures and clinical anesthesia courses as well.